Every time I fight people, somebody gets hurt.
When did your parents get you swords? In the 90s, safety was optional.
I do love Chris Pratt.
That's just what we need.
I am serious, and don't call me Doughnut.
Doughnut revenge!
Houston, we have a donut.
Welcome back to the Doughnut Revenge podcast. I'm Lauren DeVries.
I'm Jeremy Lynch.
And today we're going to talk about what movies we would remake if we were in Hollywood. We're not, but if we were.
So, the good thing is you don't have to worry about Hollywood remaking these movies.
Because they won't. Because they're just our opinions.
But first, this has been, an interesting week in terms of recent events.
Yeah. Probably the worst thing has happened in the history of the world. Just kidding. Not the history of the world.
We ran out of chocolate?
No. Toni Morrison died. I know. Amazing. Great writer. An activist. She was awesome. She won the Nobel Prize in Literature. And she has been an inspiration to me as a writer, but also just to so many people in writing and in the lives of a lot of black women. Just a lot of inspiration there. And it's such a bummer that she's gone. She was 88 when she died, and the world is so sad without her.
Yes. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her friends and family and to the millions of fans who adored her.
That's right.
If you don't know, Avengers Endgame is out on DVD now.
Mm-hmm.
Highest grossing opening weekend of all time. Highest grossing film of all time. We're going to see if it becomes the highest grossing DVD of all time.
I don't even know what holds that standard right now.
I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
Is that even a thing that we measure anymore?
Right.
How many copies of the DVD do we sell? I feel like that's obsolete once it's on Netflix.
Right. Not as many as we streamed.
That's right. Maybe that should be the new number that we count.
How many streams is this movie going to get?
Does this movie have? We'll find out. We'll figure it out.
Well, it's nice to know that the MCU will be continuing after this.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having this
Always
conversation with a friend of mine, like, right after we saw Endgame. We were like, I think, like, there's nowhere else that can go now.
Au contraire. Yeah. There's always more places it could go.
Yes, like, they might remake Blade with Mahershala Ali, and I'll be like, I cannot wait for this movie. Again. Like, remember how, 10 years ago, we saw the Avengers? Okay, it wasn't 10 years ago, but, back in
back in the day.
We saw Avengers, and we saw that tease with Thanos at the end, and we're like, oh, they're building up to something. Like, even...
This was it.
I was Blade with Mahershala Ali. That's the new Thanos
That's what
for
you're
me.
excited for.
Actually, no. They did announce that, or it is rumored that Galacticus is going to be the new baddie. They're going to be building him up over several movies.
Great. That's just what we need. One bad guy after another. I just want an Avengers movie where they're all hanging out. Living their lives. Like that after the credits scene of them just eating shawarma. I want just a whole movie of that. Pure wholesome goodness. Of the Avengers just living their lives and not destroying any part of, they are not the ones destroying New York. But not destroying parts of New York. Chasing after bad guys.
Don't say that too loud. Kevin Feige might hear you.
That's okay. I have bodyguards. Mostly because of you, I might add.
Yes. We are arch enemies.
Your attempts to take me from this earth have not come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and unfortunately for you, I'm immune to every poison you've tried to kill me with.
Not the one that I just discovered.
Well.
More on that later.
We'll see about that.
We'll report back about that when I do my first solo podcast.
More like when I do my first solo podcast.
You will not.
So all this talk about fighting each other. The other day I was hanging out with my friends, and my one friend Brian, he was like, "Hey guys, who do you think would win between us in a fight?" And I just looked around the room and I was like, has anyone in this room actually been in a fight?
In a physical altercation
Yes.
of fisticuffs?
And after a little conversation, I gathered much to my surprise that I was the only one who had ever been in a fight.
Oh, do tell.
Okay, I can't say that it was a real fight. I mean,
All
like,
right.
you know, it wasn't like, you know, the stakes were really high. But growing up, me and my brother, we used to sword fight. And when he was real little...
Wait. Sword fight? How? When did your parents get you swords?
We didn't use swords. We just used sticks we found in the backyard.
Oh.
And then eventually...
Okay, got it.
And then eventually
Makes a
we
lot
went
more
to...
sense.
We went to the hardware store and just bought dole rods and fought each other with those. And, you know, it's not that big of a deal if you get hit in the shoulder or the arm or something.
Exactly.
But my brother had a habit of putting his knuckles right in the way of my dole rod.
It's an interesting way of saying that you hit him in the knuckles with your dole rod.
Well, it wasn't on purpose, which means it must have been his
likely
fault.
Story.
But this would always result in him getting angry, screaming at me, and then throwing his dole rod at me.
Oh.
Yes.
Great.
Then he'd run inside, and then 10 minutes later he'd come back like just completely flushed with anger. His eyebrows like completely... And he'd go, "Let's do it again!" I'd be like, "No, I want to live."
Maybe we don't. Maybe not.
Like after this happened so many times, a certain number of times, my brother would go, "Come on, let's go in the backyard and sword fight." I go, "No, I don't feel like it today."
You're never in the mood to sword fight anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he'd say. So years later, he was 16, I was 18, and he was wrestling with the kid across the street who was 14. And their wrestling turned into mixed martial arts.
Oh, you know, as one does, I guess.
Yeah. And they got tired of fighting each other after a while. And then they were like...
I guess.
They looked at me and like, "Jeremy, come fight us." I was like, "Nah, I don't feel like it today." "Oh, you never feel like it." I just really don't feel like it today. Because in my head, I'm thinking, every time I fight people, somebody gets hurt.
Which is how often do you fight people? Or are you just talking about with the dowel rod?
Well...
Wait, are you trying to say dowel rods?
Dowel rods, yes.
Oh, we've been mispronouncing dowel rods. I just thought you were talking about something I didn't know. Let's add to my list of Jeremy's flaws his mispronunciation of hardware tools.
Your list of my flaws. She hasn't brought up the fact that I never bring up her flaws.
No, that's not a flaw. If it was a flaw, I'd put it on the flaw list.
So they eventually won me over with the argument that we weren't going to be using dowel rods, so we couldn't hurt each other.
Okay.
So it was the two of them against me, and I'm actually feeling pretty good about myself, because for the first 3/4 of the fight, I'm actually winning against two other guys.
All right.
Now, granted, they're significant. They're younger than me, but eventually I picked up the 14-year-old, and I was thinking this would look so cool in a movie, and I hurled him at my brother. I physically threw a guy
Jeremy.
at my brother. I mean, can you just imagine, like, Dwayne Johnson or Henry Cavill doing that move in a movie?
Yeah, you're definitely not a Dwayne Johnson. You wish. We all wish. I wish I was Dwayne Johnson. So you throw this kid at your brother.
Yes, I threw a person at my brother. Unfortunately, where my brother landed wasn't the greatest, because my dad had trimmed a bunch of branches that were coming up from the ground, and now they were all razor sharp because my dad cut them back as far as they would go. And so that's where Sam landed and cut his side wide open.
Oh my gosh!
Yes!
Jeremy!
And he's laying there like in pain, and they're both looking at me like, "How could you do that?" And I was like, "See, this is why I don't fight people."
Did he have to get stitches?
He did.
Yikes.
Actually, I don't remember if he got stitches. I
would hope he got stitches.
He has a pretty decent scar, though.
All right. Okay. I mean, remember, in the 90s, safety was optional, so... we discussed that.
We covered that in one of our previous episodes.
I got stitches once when I was a kid, and my dad is a handyman, so he had a pickup truck, and he had these toolboxes that sat on the bed of the pickup truck, and the flaps would fold out.
Right.
And he was at my grandma's doing some work, and I was running to go show him something. I was like, "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad," and I was running, and one of the toolbox drawers was open, and I caught my head on the point of the toolbox.
No, like right on the temple.
Yeah, well, like right above my eyebrow.
Ooh.
And I just remember, I was like, I didn't know what was going on, but I had been calling him, so he knew I was coming. And I probably screamed. I don't remember. But I just remember my dad, like, looks at me. He throws me in the pickup truck. He slams the toolbox compartment closed. And he takes off the 2 blocks from my grandmother's house to the hospital. And I got stitches. And it was this big, like, blue line, because I got to choose the color of my stitches, this big blue line across my eyebrow, and I thought it looked like an ugly caterpillar sitting on my eyebrow, and I was so happy to get them off.
They had colored stitches?
Yeah, I got to choose my colored stitches. Although I wish they had been the kind that dissolve, because those are nice to have now, but I had to go back and get them, like, taken out.
They didn't have those when I was growing up.
I know.
They just had the black ones.
Oh, we had cool colored ones. Or maybe it was just, like, the hospital that by my grandma's house. I don't know. Maybe they were like experimenting with colored stitch. I don't know. Who knows?
Some newfangled inventions.
Who knows? So that's my Stitches story.
All right. So our topic for today is movies that we would remake if we were in Hollywood. Now this is pretty relevant to me because I am a filmmaker and I'm always thinking about movies I want to make someday.
This is less relevant to me because I'm just a movie watcher. I'm just a movie enjoyer. And I usually don't have a whole lot of criticism to offer of movies. We were thinking about this topic and Jeremy was like, think of all the movies you've seen that you like. And I was like, yeah, the problem is I liked all of them. Like, I didn't want to remake them, but I came up with some ideas. Okay. So how about you go first?
I will go first. And by the way, we're only talking about movies, not TV shows.
Yes.
And we're only talking about remakes, not reboots, not sequels, not prequels.
Spin-offs.
Not spin-offs. It's only remakes.
Yes.
All right. So this first one, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but I would remake Singing in the Rain.
Oh, a classic.
A classic.
Why? What's your reasoning?
Okay, so first off, I know what you're thinking. Singing in the Rain, it still holds up today. It does. It's still a great movie. The problem is young people have no idea it even exists.
I guess that's fair.
And there's no way to get young people to watch a movie better than remaking the movie, right?
I guess, as we've seen demonstrated.
Okay. But now think about if they made this movie today with all the different lights and colors and things that you could do today, the choreography. I mean, back when they made this movie...
Did they have to wait for it to rain? like in real life?
Considering the technology they had at the time, there's a scene in this movie where a guy jumps out of a car onto a truck. He scales up the truck, runs across it, and leaps onto another car, all in one camera shot.
Wow.
Could you...
Amazing.
And this was way back then.
Right.
But, like, you know, they could do...
When we all did our own stunts.
They could do...
I say we all like I was a Hollywood actor.
I don't know. I think we could redo that movie today, and it would still be great.
All right.
The only question is I'm not sure who I would cast in it, but I have time to think about it.
You can leave that to me. Nicolas Cage. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Orlando Bloom.
Maybe.
My other favorite actor. Okay, the first one that I immediately thought of was, so this is going to be a Disney remake, even though we just talked about those, and how I would like them to slow their roll. This is a Disney remake of my favorite Disney movie, which is The Sword and the Stone. And not a whole lot of people know about this movie, but it's the King Arthur story, and it's very cute.
It's one of the lowest performing Disney cartoons of all time.
How dare you?
Now, I will say that, and then follow up with saying I love that movie.
I do too. It's so good. It's so wholesome. It's so funny.
It's wholesome.
It's great. Merlin is like the pre-Dumbledore. Like it's really
earlier
good.
defined wholesome as being, the Avengers sitting around eating shawarma and not doing anything.
Wholesome is a very non-definitive.
This movie, they fight the powers of darkness.
No, they don't. In Sword in the Stone.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of the Black.
You're thinking
Cauldron.
of Black Cauldron. That's a completely different movie.
No, that was the lowest performing.
Okay,
Disney
here we
movie
go.
of all
Sword in the
time.
Stone has been saved. So I would do Sword in the Stone, and
Which is
I
a great
know
movie.
that this casting.
That's
is
the one where they turned into squirrels.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Wouldn't that be so funny to watch in live action?
That would be.
This would be a live action remake. I'm clarifying.
Yes, and it would look as realistic as the lions in the Lion King.
Yeah, it would be perfect. It would be like watching Nat Geo, but with Merlin.
Yes, a squirrel. Should they keep the mustache?
Yes, absolutely.
And the emoting faces?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I had one idea about casting, but it wouldn't work out because the person is grown up now. But this is my remake of my whatever I want to do.
Lauren's fantasy football movie.
My fantasy football remake. That's right. And I keep thinking about Haley Joel Osment as young Arthur. And I know that Haley Joel Osment couldn't play like a 12-year-old now anymore. But
no, that's kind of lost.
But
now.
I mean, think of Haley Joel
that
Osment
ship has sailed.
In his prime child acting. Like, I would definitely cast him.
True. I'll give you that. My second movie that I would remake would be, and I don't know how many people remember this movie, but the movie is Titan AE.
Don't know that movie.
It was an animated, action-packed sci-fi movie from the 90s.
That sounds like something you'd be into.
It had Matt Damon and Drew Barrymore.
Oh, what? Voice acting?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Voice acting.
All right. Impressive. I'm impressed.
And the whole premise of the movie is Earth has been destroyed by aliens. And now...
As usual.
That's how the movie begins. Mm-hmm. And now humanity is scattered amongst the stars, and we're basically the immigrants living with all the other aliens in the galaxy.
Oh, interesting.
And they all hate us.
Oh, of course they do.
I mean,
we're jerks.
We get the lowest paying jobs. We get like the worst. This
sounds very
food.
topically relevant to the current political climate.
And then, so basically, their mission is there's a machine that can make a new planet, and it was like the last thing that humans invented before Earth was destroyed, and it managed to escape right before the Earth was destroyed.
All right.
And it was being taken to safety by Matt Damon's character's father. So he is searching for his father and the machine that's going to save the human race.
Interesting.
While they're being chased by bad guys who are made out of electricity. So
you just pour water on them. Just get a Nerf gun.
Yeah, it doesn't exactly work like that.
Oh, never mind.
But it would be totally a cool movie to see brought to life in live action.
Yeah, it kind of gives me a Ghost in Shell kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Now, I don't think you could use Matt Damon for this anymore because it really worked with having a younger guy.
Fair.
Maybe not Tom Holland's young, but maybe
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. I'm debating.
Chris Pratt. We all know that you love Chris Pratt.
I do love Chris Pratt. He's totally my man crush.
We all know.
I don't think Chris Pratt would work for this either.
All right. Well, we'll come back to casting.
Maybe Donald Glover.
Oh, I do like him.
Yeah,
I do like him.
He could probably pull off.
That'd be fun. I'd be here for that.
The young rebel without a cause out in the cosmos.
Yeah, I also feel like that would be a fun role for him. Like he would like that.
I can totally see him liking that.
Okay, my second movie. I'm a big fan of retellings. And I would...
Retellings or remakes?
Okay, so this one is kind of riding the line a little bit. But I would do Hamlet in a more modern setting.
Okay.
With Hamlet Snapchatting his moody teenage drama and texting Ophelia white fanging her. That would be so funny. Think about it. It would be so funny. He'd be still the Prince of Denmark, but he'd just be my life sucks. He'd be live tweeting. He'd be my uncle is stupid. I bet he would have a Tumblr where he's just reblogging stupid existential things. Like, it'd be really funny. I think it would be great. I did a project for my Shakespeare class on Hamlet in social media, and it was great. Like, there would be an Instagram account of, like, Ophelia and Hamlet, and they're, like, cute stuff that would slowly decline in, like, followers and updates. Like, it would be really funny. It would be great.
And who would you cast?
I don't know, because I want somebody who can give off that same vibe that we got in the Kenneth Branagh version. I want that vibe.
I don't know about that same vibe.
I want that vibe.
But strangely enough, for some reason, I'm thinking Daniel Radcliffe.
No.
No?
No. Sorry, D-Rad. I'm not here for that.
I mean, it would be a totally different artistic direction.
It would be. This is true. I would bring Glenn Close back, though.
What, for a cameo appearance?
No, in the same role. Glenn Close has withstood... Oh, wait, what about Meryl Streep? She's withstood the test of time.
She has.
I do love Meryl Streep. Okay.
You know, some people think she's overrated.
How dare they? Queen Meryl? Are you kidding me? All right, what's your third movie?
My third movie that I would remake, I would make a live-action version of Beauty and the Beast that doesn't suck.
Oh my gosh, Jeremy, let it go.
Oh, that movie was so bad.
Let it go. Would you keep any of the casting?
Maybe.
I feel like Dan Stevens did pretty good. And that was his first like major role in a movie.
I didn't hate him in that role.
I think he did pretty good. I think we could give him one break for that. One break.
But you know, I might try
Ian McKellen? Classic.
See, here's my biggest problem with that movie. I have a lot of problems with that movie.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard some of them.
But if you have Ian McKellen in your movie, and nobody remembers when the movie's over that Ian McKellen was in it, you have failed as a filmmaker.
I guess that's fair.
You have failed.
I can withstand that.
I wouldn't mind keeping Ian McKellen in my version of the movie, but people would remember him because he is awesome.
Fair.
I would probably do it with Keira Knightley as Belle.
I think she might be a little too old now.
I think she can still pull it off.
We could put it.
I mean, obviously I'd have to audition around, but
right.
I might find somebody I like better there.
Right.
But yes, I would make one that actually works.
Okay, on your level of critique. Fine. So my third one is Netflix has already taken this and they're going to be adapting it. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I really hope that they do a good job. If Series of Unfortunate Events was any indicator of how good Netflix can adapt things, then I'm pretty happy about it. But I have had a lot of problems with the Chronicles of Narnia movies. And I would redo those movies with the one special, very important piece, which is that the people that you use as the four siblings for the first movie, you have to film at least part of the last movie with them before they get older. You just have to. Mm-hmm. And like, that was me and my mom, like our biggest thing about that movie was like, I hope they're filming the last battle. And then they were like, we're not. So we were like, well, that's going to be stupid. So, that's the biggest reason. Mm-hmm. And then also just, I don't know. I felt like the first one was pretty well done, and maybe even the second one, but I didn't enjoy the third one.
They went downhill after the first
They really
one.
Went downhill after as with a lot of franchises.
The second one was okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
The first one was pretty good.
Yeah, the first one, pretty good. Mm-hmm. Pretty good. I mean, if I could still keep the casting, I think the casting was pretty good for that.
I mean, for its time, it was great.
Yeah, it was great. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Netflix does with it. I'm really excited about that. But that's the biggest thing, is that you gotta get the same people in the right amount of time. And Netflix did Series of Unfortunate Events really well and really good. And I think that they could do it. I think that they just gotta know that that's what they gotta do.
All right. So if it was your ballpark, you would film those scenes with those characters for the last book while you're doing the first book.
Yes. Maybe not while we're doing it, but like after it.
Right.
So, and just keep them in the vault for a second.
Yeah, so the shots still look, so they still look the same.
Right. Because that's the whole point.
I can get behind that.
Okay, thank you.
I can see that.
Thank you. I've been validated. Finally. By Jeremy. All right. Jeremy, what
Don't
time
get
is
used
it?
to it. It is time for Lauren's Harry Potter thought of the day.
Yes, my favorite part of the day. I'm reading Goblet of Fire right now. So my Harry Potter thought of the day is that I'm honestly not surprised that nobody could tell that Mad-Eye Moody was not actually Mad-Eye Moody, because all he had to do was just be super suspicious about everything. So, I'm not surprised. Not surprised about any of that. So
I am not going to comment now, because if you're listening, that's your job.
Yep.
Go to the comments section.
Fight
Tell
me
us what
if
you
you
think
want.
about this.
Fight me.
And now, the part that everyone is listening for.
The part that everyone is here for. Not our movie things, not Harry Potter. This story. The one sentence at a time story of
The fun and the terrible life of Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker in trying to be the greatest chef of all time.
Where did we last leave, Chester?
I believe he was trapped in his stove.
Yep.
And the stove was trapped on the truck, and the truck was driving away with both him and the stove in it.
And who was driving the truck?
Did you forget his name?
Well, I was just going to say the truck driver and Chester's older sister, Zoe.
Well, we haven't confirmed that she was in the truck.
I'm confirming that Zoe's in the truck.
She might have been left on the curb. She might have walked away. All we know is that somebody is driving the truck, and we don't know who.
Okay, well then you can start.
Okay. Let me gather
I want to say that this guy's name is Chad, but I don't remember.
That sounds right.
If not, we're renaming him Chad right now. Effective immediately, Chad. Chad and Zoe. Joey. Zad.
Chester watched through the window of the oven door as his neighborhood got smaller and smaller.
That was the ending of the last one. Don't recycle this story.
It's Act 1.
Don't recycle this story. Pick a new sentence.
Okay, fine. Chester tumbled around in the darkness of the oven as the truck went over a bump.
If he pressed his ear to the back of the stove, he could hear what was either a loud radio or the sound of Chad and Zoe fighting in the cab of the truck.
Alrighty. Man, they just met.
Well, they didn't just meet. Remember, they were at prom.
Yeah, but he didn't remember her.
That's true. They've just re-met. And they're already fighting. That seems like Zoe's character.
Confused, Dobby crawled toward the oven door.
You keep calling him by his middle name.
Climbed toward the oven door to find a way out.
The truck was turning onto the freeway. So Chester was going to have to be very careful about how he did this, especially if he didn't want to alert Zoe to his presence.
Chester slowly climbed out of the oven. The wind racked his hair. He held on for dear life as he inched around the side of the truck.
He was using the chewed bubblegum as handholds, or as handholds on the oven.
He's just climbing Spider-Man
he's
style.
like Spider-Man style, with chewed gum on his palms. And he eventually reached the front of the truck.
He looked up and saw in the side view mirror the face of his sister Zoe, which confused him greatly. Because he didn't know that she was a scrap metal collector. She's not, by the way.
Oh, I was about to take that in an interesting direction. He had no idea that this was the part-time job she had been so excited about, and wondered if it had been part of her devious plan to get rid of his stove.
He could tell that she didn't see him yet, but because she was looking the other direction and shouting at the top of her lungs.
she was shouting, "If you don't turn this truck around and take me to the courthouse right now, you can forget about this relationship, Chad."
Well, somebody likes to move fast.
And it's not Chester. In fact, he was afraid of great speeds. This was terrifying to him.
Chester decided to climb back toward the oven.
But before he could start doing so, Chad's reply made him pause. You want to have that be where we left it?
That's a good place to leave it.
Yeah, what did Chad say in response?
Ooh.
We'll just have to find out later.
Cannot wait.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all the time that we have for today, now that we've ended on that cliffhanger. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Facebook, so that you will be up to date on every part of Chester's life. And the rest of the things that we talk about.
Oh yeah, let's not forget those.
No.
As every listener just like skips to the end of the show.
Every listener skips to like the 5 minutes at the end.
We don't care about your stupid remakes.
Give us Chester. One day we'll have a whole episode about Chester. We could talk about who would cast in a movie about Chester.
Dun, dun, dun.
Nicolas Cage.
We'll continue this
Just
conversation. I'm Jeremy Lynch.
And I'm Lauren DeVries.
And this has been Doughnut Revenge.
Doughnut Revenge!